Unplug. Unplug reality. Y'all already know the slogan. Man, y'all already know the slogan. So we finna talk about thought. In actuality, what is thought, man? What is thought? You feel what I'm saying? We finna break that down real quick, family. Hold on, that shit just turned green. So welcome. Unplug reality, man. Y'all know the fucking slogan. Now we finna break down thought. What is thought? You feel what I'm saying? We finna break this shit down real quick. And as you see, I would show y'all the camera. We got an individual. We're gonna take a mental note though. You feel what I'm saying? But we finna jump into thought. And what is thought? So like I said, when it comes to thought, family, you feel what I'm saying? In actuality, your being, who you are, you don't experience thought. You feel what I'm saying? You're not supposed to have no thought, family. To have thought is, you feel what I'm saying, bizarre. This is not natural. It's not a natural thing for you to be experiencing having all these fucking thought forms. You feel what I'm saying? Your true divine heavenly being don't experience thought form. So off the bat, you gotta know that thought forms is not something you supposed to have 24/7. That is not normal. You feel what I'm saying? So we're gonna talk about thought. Now thought, right? Now it's only one thought, y'all. You feel what I'm saying? It's only one thought. You feel what I'm saying? It's only one thought. You feel what I'm saying? And within that one thought is many ideas about the one thought. You feel what I'm saying? And when you take the idea and you think about, you feel what I'm saying? You take the idea and think about that one thought, you format it, and it becomes a perspective. You feel what I'm saying? Now, perspective has nothing to do with this realm in reality. A perspective comes from, you feel what I'm saying, your internal universe, your internal realms and realities you've been in before. So a perspective has nothing to do, you feel what I'm saying, with the reality it is. So when you give your perspective on the idea, one thought, you feel what I'm saying, you're pulling that perspective from many realms and realities. And like I said, them many realms and reality also possess one thought. You feel what I'm saying? So you gotta know, you can't create a new thought, family. It's no such thing as creating a new thought. You gotta know that. You can't, it's only one thought. You feel what I'm saying? Now you feel what I'm saying? It's only one thought. You feel what I'm saying? And when you grab and then within that one thought there's many ideas, and when you take the idea about that one thought and you think on it, you feel what I'm saying, you formulate a perspective. A perspective comes from your internal realms and realities, the realms and realities you've been in before, and all them realms and reality possess one thought. You feel what I'm saying? So all them realms and realities possess one thought. You feel what I'm saying? So you're pulling, you feel what I'm saying, new thoughts from the realms and realities you've been in. You feel what I'm saying? That's your perspective. So when you pull a perspective, you feel what I'm saying, you pull that into this external. So you pull that thought form, you pull that new thought, you feel what I'm saying, into this realm and reality, which is the one thought. You feel what I'm saying? And now in order for it to come across, you feel what I'm saying, in order for you to, you feel what I'm, give out, you feel me, communicate this new thought to individuals, you have to use the one thought, the one realm and reality. So you have to use the words of this realm and reality, of this one thought, you feel what I'm saying, to display the new thought that came from your perspective, from the many realms and realities you've been in. You feel what I'm saying? So you take that, you feel what I'm saying? So you accumulate it, right? So you accumulate the one thought in this realm of reality, you feel what I'm saying? And you format it, and it becomes a perspective, family. You feel what I'm saying? So this becomes a perspective, you feel what I'm saying? And now depending, and like I said, that's from the idea. You feel what I'm saying? You take from the thought. So you took an idea from the initial one thought. You feel what I'm saying? You brought it into your realm in reality. You let it process. You thought on it. You think on it. You feel what I'm saying? Let it process through your being. You feel what I'm saying? And boom, you come out with a perspective. And your perspective comes from many realms and realities before. It comes in from many realms of reality other than this realm here. You feel what I'm saying? So you take that perspective, right? And that becomes the perspective. Now, depending on how powerful your perspective is, you feel what I'm saying, that becomes the new idea perspective. You feel what I'm saying? That becomes the new idea. That becomes what everybody, you feel me, gravitates towards. That's what it becomes. So that'll be something new. You feel what I'm saying? Now, like I said, in order for it to, you feel what I'm saying, in order for me to explain this, I have to use the one thought of this realm in reality. So it's technically not new, you feel what I'm saying, under this one thought, but my perspective and how I formatted that perspective became so alienated, and the way I gave it out seems like you ain't never heard this perspective. You be like, damn, I ain't never heard of that thought. You feel what I'm saying? Like, damn, I ain't think of that thought like that. You feel what I'm saying? And shit like that. Why you think you saying it? Because I pulled that in from my perspective. I pulled that in from the realms and realities I've been in before here. So when I pulled it from the realms and reality I've been in here, I take that new thought or an old thought, however you want to perceive it from my perspective, I bring it into this external with, and this one thought, and the only way I can, you feel what I'm saying, give this message out to y'all is by using the one thought. So I begin to formulate, you feel what I'm saying, the ideas of this new thought, and using the one thought of this realm in reality, and it becomes a perspective. And depending on how, you feel what I'm saying, and you gonna know it's your perspective because nobody heard it. Nobody heard this perspective before. You feel what I'm saying? Nobody heard this perspective. You be like, damn, I ain't think of it like that. Or I ain't thought of it like that. Why you say that? Because you ain't never heard that thought form. Something he pulled in from his perspective, and his perspective has nothing to do with this realm in reality. You feel what I'm saying? And he just accumulated it well enough and formatted it well enough to explain it to you by using this one thought. You feel what I'm saying? So that becomes the new ideal thought form, depending on how many people gravitate to it or how many people resonate with it. You feel what I'm saying? So boom. No, that's the idea. That's creating your own perspective. When you create your own perspective from the idea of the one thought, a lot of times it's going to play out as nobody heard it. Like, damn, that's a crazy perspective. Damn, I ain't never heard that. You feel what I'm saying? Damn, that's a crazy thought. You feel what I'm saying? I ain't think of it like that. I ain't thought of it like that. You feel what I'm saying? You know, that's your own thought. You feel what I'm saying? That's your own thought form that you created from your perspective. And we know your perspective is not seductive to the realm and reality in. You pull that perspective from the many realms and realities you've been in, the many universes and realms, and you take them one thoughts from them realms and reality, and it plays out. It don't play. See, you can't make a new thought, but you can formulate it into a perspective so well, motherfuckers never heard it. And that technically would be a new thought. You feel what I'm saying? But you can't actually create a new thought. You feel what I'm saying? Because to create a new thought is not to use the words of the realm and reality we in. You can't explain it using the words we in. You feel what I'm saying? So that's how that works. You feel what I'm saying? Now, when it comes to, you feel what I'm saying, perspectives, now, a lot of times, like I told you, people ain't creating their own perspectives. They regurgitating other people's thought forms, other people's perspectives on, you feel what I'm saying, that. So they'll take that thought form, right, and they'll just regurgitate it. They either repeat it, you feel what I'm saying, repeat it, and it'd be like, damn, nigga, I heard this nigga say it. You feel what I'm saying? I heard him say it and things of that nature. So they just repeat the same thought form. You feel what I'm saying? And shit like that. So they not using their perspective. They not using their internal world and think on it, to process it through their being. You feel what I'm saying? So therefore, they can add a new thought to that one thought, and it formulate it into a greater perspective. So they just take the perspective, a thought form of somebody else, and regurgitate it. You feel what I'm saying? And things of that nature. You feel what I'm saying? Or you feel what I'm saying, they take the perspective of somebody and they don't let it sit through their universe, their internal world, and process through them realms and realities and things. So they'll take the perspective and they'll add a little twist to it and shit like that. So it sounds slightly different, but it's still the same. You feel what I'm saying? Now, when it comes to, you feel what I'm saying, taking a different perspective and making it yours, is when you take somebody else's perspective. You feel what I'm saying? You bring that perspective into your universe and you let that process through your being. You feel what I'm saying? And things of that nature. And then pulling from your perspective. You feel what I'm saying? You formatted they perspective completely drastic, like completely different, but it's gonna share similarities because it was their perspective. So it's gonna have similarities with each other, but it's gonna be way different. You feel what I'm saying? Like, damn, bro, that's crazy. That's similar to what he said. That's a similar perspective of what he said, but it was still different. You feel what I'm saying? So that's when you take other people's perspectives and you bring it into your world and things of that nature. You feel what I'm saying? That's how that works. You feel what I'm saying? So that's just a regular thought form. So you gotta know, family, in actuality, nobody is creating. You can't create a new thought. You feel what I'm saying? In order to create a new thought, you must tap into your perspective. In order to tap into your perspective, you gotta go into your internal world and let it process through your being and your universes and the realms and realities you be in. And you grab them thought forms from them realm and realities and you bring it into this. Now, in order for me to, you feel what I'm saying, communicate this new thought to you, you feel what I'm saying? I have to use this one thought. So I have to formate it, and that becomes a perspective. And depending on how powerful that perspective is, it becomes the ideal thought form. You feel what I'm saying? And everybody grab onto it. You feel what I'm saying? You be like, damn, I ain't never thought of it like that. Yeah, because the nigga done pulled it in from his perspective. And we know perspective is not seduces to the realms and realities you in. So that's why in actuality, everybody's supposed to have their own perspective. And when a person don't have their own perspective, you know exactly where they got that shit from Unplugged. Unplugged said that. That's a perspective from Unplugged. You feel what I'm saying? That's a motherfucker who just take the information and just quickly regurgitate, didn't let it sit and think through their universe and shit. Like, so they'd take my perspective and they'll just regurgitate it. But what they supposed to do is take my perspective, think on it, let it process through their universe, through their internal being, you feel, in realms and realities, and boom, they come up with a kind of greater perspective from my perspective, and that'll be a similarity perspective, you feel what I'm saying? So there'll be similarities, but it won't be like just gurgitate. It won't be the exact same. It have a lot more to it, you feel what I'm saying? But a lot of people, you feel what I'm saying, don't let that think, don't let it sit and process through their being. So they just gurgitate the same thing, or they get some information, they might slightly add something to it, you feel what I'm saying, and don't do a whole bunch of thinking, don't do a whole bunch of processing it through their being, and niggas be like, man, that's Unplugged shit, man. I Unplugged was the first nigga that said some crazy shit like that. I know that he got that shit from Unplugged and shit like that. So that's how that worked, family. You feel what I'm saying? So that'll be a thought form that exists in a pre-thought form. You feel what I'm saying? That once was the ideal thought form. You feel what I'm saying? But when you create something from the one thought, you take the idea from the one thought, you feel what I'm saying? And you create your own perspective, not from no thought form. You feel what I'm saying? You take the idea from your own thought, you feel what I'm saying? And you format it, you feel what I'm saying? And you process it through your perspective, you feel what I'm saying? It becomes the new idea. Shit ain't nobody heard. Be like, damn, that's a crazy perspective. Damn, that's crazy, God. I ain't thought of it like that. That's crazy. You feel what I'm saying? So you take that idea thought. So now that we understand that you are in actuality not creating no thought, you feel what I'm saying? You're receiving everything. So now that you know you're receiving everything, you can stop yourself from playing into the energies of thinking all these thought forms yours. No thought form is yours. Your true nature is no thought. You got to rise above no thought. And this is what the ancient Egyptians was talking about. This is why thought is called thought. You feel what I'm saying? Because you can rise above no thought, but you got to rise above your lower chakras. And in order to do that, you got to do that through forms of meditation. So when it comes to meditation, family, you feel what I'm saying? You got to raise up, you feel what I'm saying, through form of meditation. So you raise up, you feel what I'm saying, in meditation from your left hemisphere and things of that nature. So you raise above you raise above air. When you raise above air, that's the third stage. You feel what I'm saying? You raise above no thought. You enter into your higher divine, you feel what I'm saying? Your higher self, your divine mind, you feel what I'm saying? The Holy Spirit, Mother, you feel what I'm saying? So you separate through meditation, you separate your lower natures, your carnal mind, you feel what I'm saying? Your emotions and things, which is the lower spirit. So when you separate it and you rise above that, you enter into the higher mind, the divine mind and the Holy Spirit. You feel what I'm saying? So you raise up, you feel what I'm saying, through meditation, and raise up through the third stage, which is air, and above air is no thought. You feel what I'm saying? That's what mother and father lives and shit. This is what the Bible was all. It's all allegories and metaphors and shit like that. You feel what I'm saying? So you raise above your lower natures. Your lower natures is your sons and daughters. Your sons, the lower mind, the carnal mind. You feel what I'm saying? The animalistic mind, your daughter, you feel what I'm saying? Your emotions, you feel what I'm saying? So when you raise up above your emotions and your carnal mind, you reach 4 stages, which the third, then you raise above that's the third stage. When you raise above that, that'll be air. You feel what I'm saying? This is where airhead come from. You raise above the air, that'll be no thought. You experience no thought. You feel what I'm saying? So when you raise above air, now, you feel what I'm saying? You enter into the fourth stage, which is the Holy Spirit and the divine mind, the Father and shit like that. And that's the right hemisphere. You feel what I'm saying? And in the right hemisphere is where the soul lies. The soul lies within the pineal. The pineal is the seat for the soul. So you enter from the left hemisphere, because the left hemisphere is just 20% of the back of the spine and shit like that. So that's the 20%. That's the only 20% you have access. The left hemisphere dealing with the physical reality. The other percent deal with the unseen. You feel what I'm saying? So through meditation, you tap into, you shift from the left hemisphere, you shut off the left hemisphere, and you enter the right hemisphere. And when you enter the right hemisphere, you enter where the soul lies, the soul conscious. You feel what I'm saying? They like to say Christ conscious. Nah, the soul conscious. You enter into the soul conscious. You feel what I'm saying? And that's where you tap into the realms and realities and things like that. And you begin to pull in new thoughts. You feel what I'm saying? From other realms and realities. And when you pull in new thoughts, you feel what I'm saying? And you begin to format it. You feel what I'm saying? Using the the one thought of this realm and reality, you begin to format it and things of that nature. It becomes a perspective. You feel what I'm saying? And that perspective, depending on how powerful it is, it becomes the ideal thought form. It becomes something nobody never heard before, family. You feel what I'm saying? It becomes something nobody heard of before. So in actuality, this is how you do it, family. So you gotta, and by you meditating, you begin to create a separation between the time you receive. You feel what I'm saying? And that separation creates a delay. So now you create a bridge between the carnal mind and the divine mind, where no thought lies and things of that nature. And the more you meditate, it'll be a bridge. So now when you start to receive things, it'll be a delay. You be like, oh, you will see it from a mile away and shit like that. You be like, nigga, I know that ain't mine. And because I already told you, we're not creating no thoughts. So we know if you're creating something, you feel what I'm saying? 9 times it got to be from, it's from a thought form that nobody heard. You feel what I'm saying? So now, just knowing that alone, you already know you're receiving all your thoughts and shit like that. Ain't no thought yours and shit like that and things of that nature. So when you meditate and you raise above the lower, you feel what I'm saying? Raise above the lower mind, the carnal mind and shit, and raise into the divine where no thought lies and things of that nature. You create a separation, so it's a delay. So the time you receive from the no thought into receiving it, you'll catch it way faster than individuals who don't meditate at all. You feel what I'm saying? It'll be way faster. You feel what I'm saying? For an individual who don't meditate, they'll think that the time they receive that thought form will almost be instantly. It won't be no delay or nothing like that. So they'll end up playing into thinking that's their thought forms and things of that nature. You feel what I'm saying? But in actuality, that's not their thought form at all. You feel what I'm saying, family? So this, in actuality, how it works. You feel what I'm saying? You have to create that bridge through meditation and separate from thought. You feel what I'm saying? Have no thought. You feel what I'm saying? When you separate from no thought, you can tap into the right hemisphere. And when you tap into the right hemisphere, you tap into the soul conscious. You feel what I'm saying? And then you begin to channel from other realms and realities, and you can pull them thoughts from them realms and realities into this realm and reality, and you format it using this thought, and you feel what I'm saying? Format that thought form, and boom, it becomes a perspective. You feel what I'm saying? Because you can't explain that new thought using the realm and reality we're in, the one thought. You can't explain it. So this is the only way you can go about it. You feel what I'm saying? And it's going to play out through a perspective. You feel what I'm saying? And the more bizarre, alienated that perspective is, you going like, damn, nigga, I ain't never heard of that. You feel what I'm saying? I ain't never heard of that thought. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, nigga, I done pulled that from a different realm of reality. That's a different thought. You feel what I'm saying? So in actuality, this is how it works, family. You feel what I'm saying? You're not supposed to have no thought. You don't supposed to experience no thought. You feel what I'm saying? And we know you're not creating, majority of everybody not creating no new thought. You feel what I'm saying? They not creating a new perspective. You feel what I'm saying? They gurgitating. So now you know all the thoughts you're receiving. You feel what I'm saying? Because you can't create a thought. You know you're receiving all thoughts. So you know not even to play in the no thoughts you're receiving, because in actuality you're no thought. You feel what I'm saying? So even all the thoughts you receive, all you gotta do is watch them. Just watch them and shit like that and things of that nature. And you can, and when you want to play into a thought form, if it's a thought form you like, you can play into it. So but all you do is watch the infinite thoughts come in and shit like that. You feel what I'm saying? And by you watching it, you feel what I'm saying, you ain't got to play into nothing. But a lot of times it be information too. You feel what I'm saying? About your external and things of that nature. So you could just watch your thought forms now and shit like that, and you be like, You like, oh, that's a good thought right there. I might have to get you. You be like, hold on, that's a good thought form. I might have to come back to that one. You feel what I'm saying? Because it'd be like they'll come in and it'd be information and shit. It'd be all type of thought forms and shit. And all you gotta do is watch them and you only take the ones you like and shit like that. You be like, all right, let me stop. Let me add to that. Let me think on that. You feel what I'm saying? Boom, you grab that thought form. You think on that. You feel what I'm saying? Let me think on that. But that's all you gotta do is just watch them and they information. It'll tell you about your surroundings and too, especially if you got individuals that want to approach you and things of that nature. You will get thought forms about your surroundings and like different ways individuals will come at you. You'll be like, oh, they might try to do this and shit. Like you'll get the thought form, but all you gotta do is watch it and you be like, that's how they want to come, huh? Let me stop that. Let me stop that mental space right there. You feel what I'm saying? And things like that. Because I'll be experiencing it. Especially when I create physical domains, family. When I create physical domains and things of that nature, right? And I be chilling, right? And I watch all the thoughts because I'm no thoughts at all and things of that nature. I'm like, it be telling you the manipulators what they want to do before they do it. So when I create domains, they like, oh, they can come like this. They can come like that. It's like an infinite realm of possibility they come down, right? But what the thought forms you get are greater probabilities and shit like that. So them usually be the thoughts that they want to come in. You feel what I'm saying? You'll always receive the enemy tactics. You feel what I'm saying? Because we all in one thought. You feel what I'm saying? So can't nobody hide nothing from nobody. So you able to receive things before they even happen and shit like that. So I'm like, so they gonna try that. Oh yeah, let me create something right there. Boom, create a mental domain right there. You feel what I'm saying? And I close out the probability of these things actually taking place now. Y'all see what's going on and shit like that? So you can pull by you observing your thoughts, by you watching the thought forms, right? Because some thoughts carry messages and things of that nature. But as long as you don't think on that thought, you feel what I'm saying, you're good. You feel what I'm saying? All you gotta do is watch it. And the only time you should think on the thought is if that's the thought you want to add or create to. You feel what I'm saying? You be like, yeah, let me add to that. You feel what I'm saying? I might have to use that or something like that. That's the only time you create it. You feel what I'm saying? So in actuality, this is how you feel what I'm saying? You stop yourself, you feel what I'm saying, from thinking every thought is yours. You got to know, no thought is yours. You feel what I'm saying? You are no thought. You rise above no thought. You feel what I'm saying? And you can do that through meditation. The more you do that, the more you will separate from the lower mind, the carnal mind. And you stay in that bliss. You stay in the right hemisphere of the brain and shit. And that's bliss. That's where no thoughts lie and shit. And when no thoughts, and when you raise above the lower mind, the lower chakras, that's when you can tap into the infinite. You feel what I'm saying? Possibilities and things like that. And you can channel these down from many realms and realities and shit like that. And you can grab that shit. You feel what I'm saying? But this is where you can create new thoughts. You feel what I'm saying? From the realms and realities you in. You feel what I'm saying? So now you know, bruh, all this shit bullshit. You only receiving thought forms, bruh. You only receiving, no thought is yours. We know a thought to be yours. The only time you create a thought is through perspective. You feel what I'm saying? And we know a perspective is something you create from the idea of the one thought. You feel what I'm saying? So if you're not creating the perspective on the idea from the one thought, you know ultimately it's not yours. You know it for a fact. You know this thought not mine. Oh, this a hater. A hater sent this thought form. Oh, the manipulator sent this thought. They trying to make me feel a certain way about myself. They sent that. You be knowing, like, even when you receive it, all you gotta do is watch it. You feel what I'm saying? The shit will be hilarious, bro. It'll be all type of projections and thought forms. You feel what I'm saying? And see, all these projections be blocking your ability. So they be doing these things on purpose and shit like that. They send all these thought forms at you, and they be blocking your ability because you exist above no thought. You feel what I'm saying? That's your natural state of being. You're not supposed to have no thought. So they purposely send projections, right? Especially if you got certain gifts and things like that, they keep you from raising above the lower mind, raising above, you feel what I'm saying, your lower chakras. They hitting you with all these thought forms. They trying to cloud your judgment and shit. So they trying to block. But I'm telling, all you gotta do is sit back and watch all the thought forms. As long as you don't think on no thought, you feel what I'm saying, bruh, I'm telling you what's going on down here. So that in actuality, family, how this shit work. You feel what I'm saying? You gotta know it's only one thought. You feel what I'm saying? It's always ever been one thought. You feel what I'm saying? So you can't create, it's no such thing as creating a new thought. The only time you can create a new thought is when you pull it from your perspective. And we know your perspective come from, you feel what I'm saying, the internal realms and realities you being in. You feel what I'm saying? And then them realms and realities, they all possess one thought too. So when you pull that one thought from that realm and reality, it plays out through your perspective. And when you bring that new thought here, right? No, you can't explain that new thought, you feel what I'm saying, because it's not of this realm and reality. So you only can use this one thought to explain it. But that's be the perspective. When you take that new thought from that realm and reality you been in, your perspective, you bring it into this one, and you format the idea of that new thought, right? That becomes, you feel me, a perspective. And that thought form and that perspective become the ideal thought form depending on how many people gravitate or resonate with it. You feel what I'm saying? That become the ideal thought form. You feel what I'm saying? But that's in actuality how it works. You feel what I'm saying? You only creating for perspectives. So that's how you know when people not tapping in, they not allowing things to go through their internal universe. They not thinking, they not taking a thought form and not thinking on it. So they not allowing it to process through their being and their universe and the realms and reality, so they can come up with a greater perspective, and it'd be vastly different from that perspective. You feel what I'm saying? It might share similarities, especially if it's somebody else's perspective. It might have similarities, but you can tell he put it had his own style to it. It had his own mix to it and shit like that. You like, damn, that I heard somebody else say something similar to that, but this perspective better. You feel what I'm saying? That's when you take somebody else's thought form, somebody else's perspective, and you let it process. So you think on that. So what I mean think don't mean you gotta literally let it go through all your universes and realms and things of that nature, and boom, that's when you get that perspective. You feel what I'm saying? People, they too quick to not, you feel what I'm saying, they too quick to not let something process. You feel what I'm saying? It's like that instant gratification. But if you would have waited longer, if you would have took somebody else's thought form, their perspective on that one thought and shit like that, and you let it, and you think on it. When I say you think on it, I'm not talking about literally think on it. I'm talking about take it, think on it, let it process through your being. You feel what I'm saying? That might take, given knows how long. It might take 2 weeks, 3 weeks for you to fully come into enlightenment on a greater perspective than his and things like that. But you got to let it sit in things of that nature. And boom, you'll have a greater perspective in things of that nature. You feel what I'm saying? So that'll be a greater perspective from his perspective. You feel what I'm saying? But anytime you creating a new perspective, you feel what I'm saying? You pull it from the one thought. It's not a thought form. You feel what I'm saying? It's not something somebody created. It's an idea. And when you take an idea and you format it, you feel what I'm saying? You bring it into your universe. You feel what I'm saying? Boom, you get a perspective. You feel what I'm saying? And depending on how vast that perspective is, it becomes the ideal new thought form. It becomes ideal new thought form. So this in actuality is how it works, family. You feel what I'm saying? In a nutshell. For everybody who's just joining, you feel what I'm saying? We just broke down thought. You feel what I'm saying? In actuality, how that works and shit. Shout out to everybody in the chat and shit. You feel what I'm saying? But this is how it works. You feel what I'm saying? So you gotta know, man. Now you know that. All you gotta do is just watch all the thoughts and shit like that. Look, that's all you gotta do is watch all the thoughts, family. You know thought. You feel what I'm saying? I said in the God mind, you feel what I'm saying? In the divine mind, you feel what I'm saying? Where Father lives and shit like that. You feel what I'm saying? When you raise up above the lower chakras, you can enter no thought. You feel what I'm saying? And the more you practice that shit, the more it start being a delay. You feel what I'm saying? Between the time you receive, you feel what I'm saying, that carnal mind, until the time you receive the thought form. So it'd be a delay. You catch that motherfucker for a mile away and shit. Like, hold on, that thought form creeping in on the nigga. See, if you don't do it through forms of meditation, right, it won't be no delay. So from the time you receive a thought form, it'll almost be instant. It'd be like boom. You feel what I'm saying? So a lot of times it'll play out as you thinking that thought form yours and shit, cause how fast it come. But through meditation, you can separate. You feel what I'm saying? You create a bridge between the lower mind and the higher mind. You feel what I'm saying? And things of that nature. And the more you meditate, you'll start experiencing the delay. Like, it'd be a delay when when the thought forms come in, it'd be a longer delay and shit. It'd be delays to that shit, I'm telling you. Man, I got some jewels for you. But yeah, that's how it work, family. That's how it work and shit like that. But I'm finna get off here and shit, because I ain't trying to make this video too long and shit, because I gotta cut this up. I ain't gonna lie. Unplug reality.